In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Model Context Protocol. So if you've spent any time on Twitter recently, you'll have seen a lot of discussion about building MCP or Model Context Protocol servers. If you've wondered what they are or why they should be interesting, and more importantly for us, how to build them in Go, this is the right video for you. The key bit to call out is this bit here. I think this does a really good job of describing what it is. The Model Context Protocol is an open standard that enables developers to build secure two-way connections between their data sources and AI-powered tools. So imagine while you're vibe coding or you're trying to use something like Cursor and you want to include data from one of your data sources, maybe a Postgres database or maybe an API that you own in the reasoning. MCP allows us to add those private data collections into consideration. Now, if you go to the documentation for MCP, you'll see a lot of examples on how to do it in Python, in Node, and in Java. But there's very little written about how to do this in Go, which is what I wanted to overcome. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to figure out how to build an MCP server in Golang, how to connect it up to Cursor, and how you can use it while you're vibe coding. So firstly, I spent a bunch of time looking around the internet, and I found this one that I really like, which is MCP Golang. I did try some other libraries and I also tried building my own, and I think this is a nice balance. So I'd really recommend using this, and it's what we are going to use in this video. They give a really simple example project to help you get started as well, which is actually what we're going to build on top of. So on my screen now you can see Cursor. What I've done here is I've built a really simple tool, which is one of the sort of domain language features you need to learn about MCP. You'll see what tools are in a minute because Cursor actually makes them very easy to understand. But what we do is we use the MCP Golang project to start a new server. We register a tool. The first one's a really simple one, which just says, say hello to someone with a personalized message, and it just gives you a sprintf response. The second one is a little bit more interesting. We make a tool where we get the latest Bitcoin price in various currencies and return it. To do that, we actually make an API call to CoinGecko. This is a little bit more typical of what I expect to see usage of MCP servers for. It's calling an API, it's reading from a database. Both those things would be possible here. But as you can see, the code is pretty reasonable to understand. You receive a request, which is almost like a request to a server, which you handle like anything else. You build up your response, and then you respond. Very similar to dealing with HTTP requests. Now, the more interesting bit is how do we get this set up to work with Cursor? The easiest way I've found is to build your binary. So do go build. And then do pwd, which will print your working directory. The path to our tool is going to be this working directory / the name of the binary. So I'm going to click this settings cog. Let me just make it a little bit clearer. This settings cog in the top right corner of Cursor. And I'm going to go down to MCP. And you'll see I've already got one configured. But if I edit it, give it a name, there's the path and the name of the binary I just used. And once you've done that, if you click refresh, you'll see this green dot appear, which means that Cursor has determined your MCP server to be valid. It also has detected these tools. One is called Bitcoin price and one is called hello. And they're the things that are going to become available to us now in Cursor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open the chat window. And you can see I've been testing it just before this. But we can copy our previous prompt. And we can ask it again. Say hello to a person with a personalized greeting. As you can see, it goes away and generates, but it does consider our MCP server, and it actually chooses to use our MCP server in the response. And this response is actually what comes back from us. So this is great. It's actually using our custom thing in its prompt consideration, in its reply consideration. And then the other one we have is the Bitcoin one. So let's ask this question too. And as you can see, it called our MCP tool, it shows the parameters, it gets the results, and then it gives us more details beyond what we returned as well. So this is really powerful. Say you had coding guidelines at your company, or perhaps you have various compliance requirements you need to meet. You could see kind of building them into an MCP tool and using them as part of your vibe coding to be able to produce enterprise standard code out of these things, because it can consider some business constraints and rules that might be applicable to you. I can also see people using this to add questions of data as well. Super interesting. I hope you found this useful. Let me know what you end up building with this. I'll push my example code, but I really hope this helps you figure out how to get it connected up to Cursor and start experimenting with it.